Good morning, fans of the Southwick Time Machine, and happy Valentine's Day. As you probably know, there's a handful of stories on the Southwick Time Machine that surround love, infatuation. Unfortunately, most of those stories end in tragedy due to broken hearts or what have you. One story that comes to mind is Double Date, the Cecilia Censki story. She was a native of Suffield, Connecticut. She lived with her parents in Windsor Locks. She was employed by the Montgomery Company, working its namesake mill as a machine operator in the department that made decorative and electric tinsels. She had an older brother, he worked there also. Today, the Montgomery Mill, that particular mill, was converted into apartments. It's a famous landmark in Windsor Locks. Anyway, on January 16th, 1955, her older sister Anne went to the Thompsonville Hotel in Enfield, Connecticut, where she met two men from Springfield. Kind of shady characters, if you will. Anne's been to the hotel before. She was known to go there and meet different guys for dates or what have you. So one of the guys said, "Hey, why don't we go ahead and pick up your sister?" So they went ahead and did that. They picked up Celia. They went to Springfield, hit some nightclubs, and then it was getting late, around 11 o'clock. Celia said she was ready to go home. So the group stopped, or were already at a restaurant near the Massachusetts-Connecticut state line, believed to be in Agawam. And Anne and Celetti, they stayed at the restaurant while the other guy drove Cecilia home. Well, the guy drove back to the restaurant an hour later and he was by himself. He told Anne and the other guy that Celia got out of the car and disappeared when the pair went parking at a canal off Quarry Road in Suffield. So the three got in the car. They went to go look for Celia, but there was no signs there. They couldn't find any clues or anything. So the two guys went ahead and went back and dropped Anne off, thinking maybe Cecilia went back to the house. Anyway, when Anne went back inside, the guys drove off and just took off. So Anne was really worried about her sister. It was very unlike her to just disappear like that. So she went to the Windsor Locks police station and she told the officers about what happened, and then she went home and went to bed. So later that morning, she woke up, and the first thing she did was she went ahead and checked her sister's bedroom, which was still emptied. Fearing the worst, she went back to the police station in Windsor Locks and reported her missing. So police in Windsor Locks immediately notified Suffield police because that was the last spot that Cecilia was, spotted. So police in Suffield began searching, and they found a pair of silk stockings, they found a pair of panties, gold earring, and some different things along the bank of a canal. And they noticed that there was blood stain on some of the clothing. So what they did is they started dragging the 5 mile canal. Now part of it was frozen over because this is January in New England. So the ice got really thick and prevented them from going further. So the boats began to freeze in the water. They had to go ahead and stop the search. It was about 10 o'clock that evening that they stopped the search. They said, "Hey, we're going to go ahead and drain the canal instead." But draining the canal was a very long process. We'll talk about 7 hours to, fully drain it. So earlier that afternoon, while they were, before they were checking the canal, the Connecticut State Police joined the investigation and they issued a 16-state alarm, and they gave a description of Celia, the missing woman. They said she was about 20 years old, 5'6", 135 pounds. She had long black hair and brown eyes. So police wanted to talk to the two men as persons of interest based on Anne's story. So they went and tracked the guys down or whatever. So Suffield and Connecticut State Police Officers went to Springfield with Anne to search for the men. Now they stopped at the Pioneer Valley Construction Company. That's where one of the guys was employed part-time. But the employer said, hey, he never showed up for work. The other guy was unemployed, so they went to his house. And they realized that he lived there with his pregnant wife and two children, but he was not at home. So the next day, the Suffield Police and Firemen, they were still searching the canal. And then they found, unfortunately, Celia's badly bruised body. She was half nude from the bottom down. They obtained 2 warrants charging the men with homicide and the other guy with abetting a homicide. So later that evening, a New Jersey state trooper made a routine traffic stop in the New Jersey Turnpike near Hightstown. Now the driver, when he got pulled over, fear overtook this guy, and he just blurted out, "I didn't mean to do it, officer." So the officer identified the guy as one of the men wanted on the warrant. So the officer took him into custody and notified the Suffield Police Department, and officers from Suffield made the trip to New Jersey to pick up the wanted man, and he waived extradition to Connecticut. So several hours later, the other guy turned himself in Newark, New Jersey. He hitched a ride. The car picked him up and dropped him off at the police station. He completely turned himself in, and he was brought back to Connecticut. So, um, a Connecticut judge held one of the guys without bond at the Hartford County Jail pending a trial in Superior Court. One of the other guys, he actually made bail. On Thursday, the coroner announced Celia's cause of death was drowning. He stated that no rape occurred, but he concluded that the criminal actions resulted in her death. Based on the courtroom testimony and the coroner's inquest, it was believed that Celia, she was resisting this guy's advances, and in doing so, he hit her in the face and tried to rape her. She was crying, she was hysterical, she fled the vehicle on foot, and the guy may or may not have chased after her. Now, the evidence suggests that in the dark, it's pitch black, you can't see anything. You got to remember, this is way back. There wasn't a lot of, areas weren't heavily populated. There weren't a lot of street lights. It was very, very dark, especially in the quarry area. So she was in unfamiliar territory, so they're thinking that Celia ran through the underbrush, she was going through the woods, and then she fell over a 20-foot high embankment into the canal's icy waters and then went ahead and drowned. Very, very terrible tragedy. The other guy made made statements about the sequence of events after he dropped Ann off. Much of his story didn't add up, but it appears that after leaving the home, the two guys drove to New Jersey to visit one of the guy's brothers, and then they went to visit his aunt in New York City. So while they're in New York City, they're in Times Square, and they pick up a newspaper. In the newspaper, they see that they're wanted for this missing girl. So they panicked, and that's why they fled to New Jersey. So on May 5th, 1955, a judge sentences one of the guys to 10 to 20 years for manslaughter, and his buddy went ahead and turned on him. He turned state witness, so that kind of sealed the deal for him. Very interesting story. Check it out. It's called Double Date. You can find it on the Southwick Time Machine. You can either use the search bar, Double Date, the Celia Censki story, or you can use the tags in the main menu and just click on True Crime. It's one of the first ones that will pop up. Throughout the day on Valentine's Day, we're going to visit some other interesting stories that have to do with love, infatuation, and unfortunately, like I said earlier, a lot of those end with the tragic demise. But as we go through the day, we'll visit more, but that's the first one. If you haven't already read it, check it out, or maybe you want to revisit it. It was one of the more popular stories on the Southwick Time Machine. If you do like it or love it, please use the corresponding buttons at the end of the story. Or you can also leave a comment under this video on Facebook. Hope you have a great day. Thanks.